All right, here are the answers to homework number 9. Check them out. All right, I'm going to go through them one by one. Here we go. The first problem here, actually the first 3 problems are just formulas you need to have memorized. Slope-intercept form, of course, is y equals mx plus b. M is the slope, b is the y-intercept. Point-slope form is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1, where m is the slope and the x1 and the y1 represent a particular point on the line. And standard form is ax plus by equals c. The a, b, and c need to all be integers, all right? All right, I don't know if you noticed this or not, but now I numbered them 1 through 3 again, sadly. So number 1, I'm supposed to graph these by using the x and y intercepts. You find the x and y intercepts by putting 0 in for the opposite variable. So in number 1, if I put 0 in for y, I get 3x equals negative 30, or x equals negative 10. If I divide both sides by 3. And to find the y-intercept, I would put 0 in for x. I would have 5y equals negative 30. And if I divide both sides by 5, I get y equals negative 6. So to go ahead and graph this, first I'm going to need to number my, scale my graph appropriately. And since the x's need to go to 10, I'm going to go by 2's. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And in the negative direction, negative 2, negative 4, negative 6, negative 8, negative 10. I'll do the same thing on the y-axis. I'll go by 2's, so it'd be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and negative 10. And so my x-intercept would be here at negative 10. My y-intercept would be at negative 6, negative 2, 4, 6. And I could draw my line. Number 2, the x-intercept would be when I put 0 in for y. So that would be 630 divided by 18, which is 540, what is 35? Seems right. And let me check that. Is that right? 540 and 90. Sure. So the x-intercept is 35. I would get the y-intercept by putting 0 in for x. And I would solve that by dividing both sides by negative 14. And that's going to be what? 140, 280, 560 would be 40. That'd be 5, say another 70, 45. All right, I'm ready to graph it. Again, I'm going to need to scale my graph correctly. I'm going to go to 50 on both axes. So the x-axis would be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. I'm going by tens. And negative 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. The y-axis, I'm also going to go by tens. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and negative 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. And so I would have a dot on the x-axis at 35. 10, 20, 35 would be right between 30 and 40. And on the y, I'd be at negative 45. So negative 10, negative 20, negative 30, negative 40, negative 45 would be right in the middle. And I can connect those and I have my line. This one looks a little bit easier. I would find the x-intercept by putting 0 in for y. Divide both sides by 3 and I get x equals 5. I would find the y-intercept by putting 0 in for x. I would divide both sides by -1, and I would get y equals -15. So I am going to graph this by scaling the x-axis by 1s. So I'll just go 5 and -5. And I'm going to scale the y-axis by 5s. So I'll go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and -25. My x-intercept is 5, so right at the edge. My y-intercept is -15, so it'd be -5, -10, -15. And I could draw my line. All right. Number 4, I am supposed to find the slope and the y-intercept. Well, this is already in slope-intercept form, so the y-intercept is the -4, and the slope is the coefficient of x. So I can graph this by putting a dot at -4 on the y-axis and using the slope to go up 1, right 2, up 1, right 2, up 1, right 2, or down 1, left 2. And we're ready to move on. Number 5 is already in slope-intercept form. Here's the y-intercept, the 5. Here's the slope, the -3. So I'd put a dot at 5 on the y-axis. And the slope is telling me to go down 3, right 1. 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1. And I draw my line. I do like to make a lot of points. Number 6, it's also in slope-intercept form. So this is the y-intercept, 3, and this is the slope, -1. Therefore, I would put a dot on the y-axis at 3, and the slope is telling me to go down 1, right 1. So that would look like down 1, right 1, down 1, right 1, and so on. And my line might look like that. This next group is in point-slope form. So I'm going to name the point and the slope that was used, and then graph it. Here the slope is 2, and the point is x equals 1, y equals -3, right? The opposite sign. So I would graph this by putting a point at 1, -3. It's right there. And then I would use the slope, which is telling me up 2, right 1. So 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1. And I can draw my line. In number 8, my point is an x value of -5 and a y value of 2. And of course, the slope is 2/3. So to graph this line, I would put a dot at -5, 2, right? -5, 2. The slope is telling me to go up 2, right 3. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. That's all the points I can get here. And my line might look like that. Number 9, only an x. Since there's only an x, this is a vertical line. The slope is undefined for a vertical line. And a point on the line would be any point that has an x value of -2, like -2, 0. So I'll put a point at -2, 0, and I'll draw a vertical line, and there's that one. All right, now they get a little trickier. In number 10, I am supposed to write an equation for the line described in point-slope form, then convert it into slope-intercept form. All right, so I have a slope and I have a point. I'm ready to write the equation. It would be y plus 7, that's my y value. I guess I don't need the parentheses. Equals -3, that's the slope, times x minus 5. 5 is the x value. All right, to put this into slope-intercept form, I need to solve for y. So to get the y by itself, first I'm going to distribute the slope. Make sure that's a plus 15 because it's a negative 3 times a negative 5. And then I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides and get y equals negative 3x plus 8. And now I'm in slope-intercept form. Number 11, I am not ready to write an equation in point-slope form because I don't have the slope. So the first thing I'm going to have to figure out here is, what's the slope of my line? And the slope of my line would be y minus y. I chose to go with the bigger one first, over x minus x. So that's going to be 24 over negative 6, which is negative 4. All right, now I can write my equation in point-slope form, and it would be, I'm going to go ahead and use this point. So it'd be y minus 11, 11 being the y value from my point, equals negative 4 times x plus 7, 7 being the x value. There's my equation in point-slope form. Let's go ahead and change that into slope-intercept form. So let's distribute the negative 4 and get y minus 11 equals negative 4x minus 28. And then let's add 11 to both sides. And I get y equals negative 4x minus 17. I hope that's right. Number 12. I am supposed to write an equation in standard form for a line that goes through this point and this point. All right, well, to write an equation in standard form, the first thing I have to do is write an equation either in slope-intercept form or point-slope form. And to do that, I need the slope. So first I'm going to calculate the slope, which is y minus y over x minus x. And 59 minus 42 is 17. And 23 plus 19 is 42. My slope is 17 over 42. I might need a calculator for this one. All right. So, now I can either use point-slope form or I could solve for the y-intercept. But I'm just going to go ahead and use point-slope form. And I am going to just use this point, I suppose, though it really doesn't matter. So my equation would be y minus 42 equals 17 over 42 times x plus 19. All right, so the thing I'm going to do first is I am going to clear the fractions, right? This needs to go into standard form, and standard form is not allowed to have fractions in it. And I can clear the fractions by multiplying both sides by the common denominator. The common denominator is the 42. So this is going to be 42 times this side and 42 times this side. Well, over here, I get 42y minus 1,764. On the right side, the 42's here cross cancel, so when I multiply 42 times 17 over 42, I'm left with 17. And then I would distribute the 17 to the next thing. 17 times x is 17x. And 17 times 19 is what, 340, 323? Okay. Might as well check that. Yep. Okay. So then, I need to move stuff around to get it in standard form. I want the x term to be on this side on the left, so I'm going to get rid of it by subtracting 17x from both sides. That moves it over to the left side. And I want this number to move over to the right side, so I'm going to add 1764 to both sides. That gives me negative 17x plus 42y equals 1764 plus 323, 2087. And then the last thing is, of course, we want the x term to be positive. The a value in standard form should be positive. So we're going to multiply everything in the problem by -1. And multiplying by -1, of course, just changes all the signs. So this would be 17x minus 42y equals negative 2087. And I have now written an equation in standard form for that line. All right, last up. Lots of little general skills here, I guess. First up, you would find the x-intercept by putting 0 in for y. So when you divide both sides by 3 to get x, you would get 20/3, or 6 2/3. I'd prefer not a decimal, but only because it's a repeating decimal. I guess if it was not repeating, I'd go ahead and maybe use it. To find the y-intercept, we're going to put 0 in for x and solve for y. So 20 divided by 7, or 20/7, would be the y-intercept. All right? To find the slope of the line, we're going to want to get it into slope-intercept form. So we will subtract 3x from both sides. This is what we would get if we subtracted the 3x from both sides, right? And then divide by 7. The 20 would be divided by 7, and the 3 would be divided by 7. And my slope turns out to be negative 3/7. And last up, we want to know if this point is on the line. Well, if that point is on the line, I should be able to substitute the -3 in for x and the 4 in for y, and it should make the equation work, right? Because the points on the line are solutions to the equation. So I would have 3 times -3 plus 7 times 4 equals 20. That's -9 plus 28, which is 19. So, no, 19 does not equal 20. All right. Number 14. Same type of question, but now my equation is in point-slope form. The slope of the line, of course, is right here. It's -4. So that was easy, right? The y-intercept. To get the y-intercept, I could put 0 in for x. Let's just do that. So y minus 2 equals -4 times 7. Putting 0 in for x. That'd be y minus 2 equals -28. And if I add 2, I get -26. The y-intercept is at -26. The x-intercept. I find the x-intercept by putting 0 in for y. So 0 minus 2 equals -4 times x plus 7. That would be -2 equals -4x minus 28. I would add 28 to both sides. and get negative 4x equals 26. And I would divide by negative 4, and I would get 26 over negative 4, which is 13 over negative 2. So it'd be negative 13 halves. And last up, we want to know if this point is on the line. So I'm going to put that point into the equation and see if it's a solution to the equation. And if it is, then it is on the line. So I'd be putting negative 54 in for y, and I'd be putting 7 in for x. Well, over here you get negative 56. This would be negative 4 times 14, which is also negative 56. So they equal each other, yes. That is an ordered pair that's on the line. And the last question, find the x and y intercepts for the line that passes through those points. So to find the x and y intercepts, I'm going to need an equation for the line. Again, writing an equation for the line means either using point-slope form or slope-intercept form. So the first thing I'm going to have to do is find the slope. And that would be y minus y over x minus x. 60 minus 18 is 42. 12 plus 2 is 14. And 42 divided by 14 is 3. Slope of this line is 3. So I'm going to write the equation, and I'm going to go ahead and use this ordered pair and get y minus 18 equals 3 times x plus 2. Now, I want the x and y intercepts, so I'm going to simplify this thing first. Y minus 18 equals 3x plus 6. Now, to get the x-intercept, I would put 0 in for y. So that would give me negative 18 equals 3x plus 6. I would subtract 3 from both sides, 6. Subtract 6 from both sides and get 3x equals negative 24. Divide by 3 and get negative 8. To find the y-intercept, I would put 0 in for x. So that would give me y minus 18 equals 6. And I'd add 18 to both sides and get y equals 24. And I have my x and y intercepts. All right, see you soon.